Cool. So...
How you doing over there, Shane?
Doing good.
You're looking good.
Feeling good. Got this nice wall behind me. Everything's good.
Looking good, feeling good.
It's all good, man.
Did you like that picture I sent you, Shane?
I did. Yes, I loved it. Anything you send me is pretty awesome, though. So.
We send each other stupid pictures pretty much on a daily basis.
That's funny.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Where are you playing tonight, Shane?
In a place downtown Kansas City called the Tank Room. It's actually it's a bar, kind of down by the Sprint Event Center. So it'll be cool. My friend owns the bar. It's kind of a nice, comfortable little space, and they got a cool stage, and they often bring in some cool acts. No one really big time, just kind of underground, kind of cool stuff. So yeah, it's nice.
Local people or what?
They bring in national acts.
That's cool.
Not. I'm trying to like one. Let me see here. Like they've had. There's this girl called Meg Myers. Her name is Meg Myers. She does awesome stuff. She's kind of blowing up right now, and I think she's an Atlantic Records artist.
Wow.
Not totally blown up though. She's just kind of getting her wheels, and so I mean they have acts like that I think are maybe up and coming, and so they're not local, but they're doing all right. So
pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Mhm.
All right, so it looks like we still have people coming in. Welcome so very much. So very much. Not sure what that meant. Let me start over. Welcome. I'm really glad you're here. How about that? Let me click on the. Looks like I got 270 folks. This is awesome, man. I was really worried that anybody was going to show up. I was thinking it might just be us three chuckleheads because I was like, wow, this is really short notice, and we did this at the very last second, but I thought it'd be cool just kind of get us all three together. So thanks for showing up. Rick, thank you for coming. Andy, Robert, Mario, Jeffrey, Alden, James, Michael, Mark, Al, Scott, Brett, Bill, Kaulana, James, Ernie, Doug, Mark, Bob, David, Luke, Tim, Bill. Got a lot of men on here. Cool. Let me just run this little poll here, guys. Let me see. I think I forgot to actually create this one. Are you manly man or
Lisa's glad that you lost the hat, Dan.
Oh, that's funny. The only reason I did is because I literally lost it. Love me old hat. All right. So, just curious, are you a manly man or female?
Sometimes I wonder.
Yes. Although there could be no doubt about this.
Yeah, exactly.
But the
So you should live in North Dakota with that beard.
Yes, exactly.
Check it out, dude. 93% manly men. Only 7% female. We need to get some more females on here.
I see Louise is here. I see Lisa's here. Lisa's always here. Now I'll get an attitude check from Lisa. There she is.
No, that's cool, man. I love when people come back. That's so awesome.
Greg's here. He's supposed to be studying his theory right now, but he's here anyway.
Fun.
Not a single person has commented on the green wall yet. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Looks like you're getting sucked up into a spaceship. Okay, so I want to ask, where are you? Guys, so if you see the poll pop up, I'm just curious where people are. Dang, look at the folks in the UK. 6%. 5%. Right. What time is it in the UK?
Well, it's like 6 hours, isn't it? Do people sleep or what?
I don't know, dude. Australia. Jeez, what time is it in Australia?
Kent is on beer 30. I'm only on beer 1, Kent.
That's pretty funny.
Rebecca's female. We got 3 of them now.
It's 10:40 a.m. in Australia. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, we got
It's
someone from
1
Fargo here.
a.m.
Do
in
we?
the UK.
Yeah. Darren, is that... I know Darren.
There's only one Darren in Fargo, and he's here.
That's hilarious.
Now I live in Kindred, North Dakota, and there literally is only one Darren in Kindred.
Very cool. Okay, dude, so we kind of know where people are from, what's going on. We know that Shane has a gig tonight at, you got to leave here in about an hour, right, dude?
Yes, sir.
So we need to get rolling on this, man, because we've got 297 folks here right now. And we want to deliver some awesome content. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over 7 songwriting secrets. And Steve and Shane are going to share all of this cool kind of lesson material with you. And of course, all of this is a very small snippet of what you are going to get if you decide that the songwriting secrets course is right for you. Songwriting Secrets Made Simple is the name of the new course, and it's actually going to be kind of like a masterclass. We decided not to call it a masterclass, but it's pretty much a masterclass format, but it's a little shorter than the main masterclass. It's 4 weeks. But it's going to be 3 modules delivered over 3 weeks. Shane did all of that, and then it's going to be 4 live lessons with Shane, and also some with Steve. And there's also going to be a Facebook group, which is going to be super cool. And Shane has very graciously committed to jumping in there and answering your questions personally.
Yes.
For 4 weeks, which is awesome. We didn't want to ask him to do that forever. So anyway, this is going to be super cool. There's a bunch more cool things that we're going to be talking about. One thing I do want to let you know, since now I still see people coming in. Thank you for coming, guys. We really, really do appreciate it. I'm not kidding when we say, like, sometimes we do these things, we don't know if we're going to be the only 3 people here or not. So every time I see, like, there's 300 people sitting here watching this live, to me, this is like Star Wars. This is, like, super cool. I'm really, like, flattered that people would even take their time to show up to this. So one thing that we're going to do as a thank you gift, if you stay with us to the end of this webinar, which is not going to be as long as the one from the other night, by the way, we're going to give you one of Steve's courses. So we're going to give out that URL at the very end. I'm going to make sure I tell you the right one, because last time I said the wrong one, and I thought Lisa was going to personally drive over to my house and, like, kick my cat or something. So the one that we're actually going to give away is called Developing Strumming Power. And that is a Steve Stine course that you're going to get for free, as in free beer. We're going to give out the URL at the very end of the webinar. And the way the format's going to work is we're going to do some straight-up teaching for about an hour, and then we're going to go a very short and brief explanation of the actual class, if you're interested in it. And the whole purpose of that is to simply help you discern whether you think this is the right class for you or not. And then we're going to come back and do a Q&A. And Steve and actually Shane has to bounce it in like an hour, but Steve and I are going to hang around and get your questions answered for that. And then we're going to be done. But I can promise you, if you were on the last one, which is like 3.5 hours long, it's not It's not going to be 3.5 hours. Yeah, I assure you, it will not be 3.5 hours. God help me, it will not be 3.5 hours. Last one was just like questions just coming in. I was just like reading them, and we were trying to answer as fast as possible. And then Steve bailed on me, so I was sitting here by myself. My throat.
I only bailed on the first one.
All right, dudes. So let's get started here. Let's jump in. We're going to cover 7 songwriting secrets, and all of this is tied into the Songwriting Secrets Made Simple course. So this is just a snippet, But the very first one we're going to talk about is why you need to learn to be expressive with your playing. I'm going to throw that over to the Steininator for an answer.
Steininator.
And,
Cool.
and a demo.
Absolutely. So obviously, the first thing I want to say is I want to say thank you to Shane for being on this call. Shane, for those of you that don't know Shane, he's a phenomenal musician. He's a phenomenal songwriter. He's a great producer, and he's just a really good friend of mine. And I have the privilege of being able to work with him on a musical level. I have for the last few years. And so I'm going to show you some ideas about the things we're going to talk about here, and then I'm going to turn it over to Shane because he's really got the kind of the creative mind for a lot of these things. So if you haven't listened to the album Everything in Slow Motion, which is Shane's one of Shane's bands, he's got a number of different bands, but it's phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that because I know him. It really is. It blew me away. So am I talking you up too much, Shane?
Well, yeah. But I love you. Thank you.
So anyway, if we were talking about being expressive, for me what that means is when you play, you want to think about being dynamic and having a variety of things happening, right? Because there's a million approaches that you can take to a song. So you might just start off with something and you're going like something like this. I'm going to play some octaves. I'm just making that up off the top of my head, but trying to figure out some zone that I want to be in with the dynamics. I might take something like, I might build something that's a single note idea and start doing like a... And the goal here is trying to be expressive. I'm trying to get you to feel what I'm feeling as I'm playing versus just bashing a power chord, and not that can't be awesome too, because it can. But just thinking about trying to make your guitar sing with the elements that you're doing. And Shane, can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
I can. First of all, that was very, very tasty playing there, Steve.
It was a tasty lick.
It was very tasty. Made my stomach tickle a little bit. Tastiness. Like that drink in your hand. I'm sure it's awfully tasty. And this water is just bumming me out.
I prepared.
Yes, you did. But no, I completely agree. I guess whenever I start writing a song, or even if it's just playing guitar and hanging out, depending on where I'm at or what my day has been like or what guitar is in my hands at the time, it all will tie into what I write or what I play. So I completely agree with you on that. If I'm doing something a little bit more aggressive, I'll do kind of like what you were doing. It'll be a little bit more down picking, more attack, just something like that. Obviously, it's got a lot of attitude and grit and all that other stuff. But with the, I guess it boils down to, like I said, your guitar, but also what you're playing. I know we're going to get into tone a little bit later and things like that, but that will also influence how you play. So, and just being able to express what you're feeling at the time, it's whatever tools you have in your hands and how you choose to use them. So, right,
I think
aggressive
that's a great
playing,
point, actually.
going to be more aggressive, and the softer, cleaner guitar, I like to throw a lot of effects on my stuff, which we can talk about a little bit later too. That'll change the mood. But softer picking. That's not aggressive picking at all. It's just very soft and kind of chill, and it immediately sets the mood. You're in this kind of zone of, you're kind of vibing. Instantly, you're kind of swaying a little bit. So Yeah, I guess to go forward with what you said a little earlier, it's all about just bringing you into my world. You know, if you're going to listen to my music, if you're going to listen to what I'm doing, I want you to join me in this feeling, whatever that is. And you know, obviously you control that with how you play and what you do.
So I think the big point on that I'm getting from this is that the reason you need to learn to be expressive with your playing is so you can express what's going on in your head and in your heart.
Exactly, yeah.
Because it's a great way to, you know, express what's going on with you personally, is to be able to do it in your playing, which I actually personally think is the reason I ended up not in jail or dead like a lot of my friends ended up, because I had this outlet that I could go to, and I used to play for like 8 hours a day when I was like 14, 15 years old, and I just really immersed myself in it because you know, I loved it, but also I knew that there was a pretty dark world out there that if I got sucked into, it was going to be lights out probably for me. So I think it's great that the whole point is that being expressive in your playing allows you to express yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
So let's jump into number 2 here, which is, how do you find inspiration for effective songwriting? That's really number 2 here on our handout, by the way, guys. If you hopefully you got the handout. It's a PDF file. I think we sent it out to everybody that registered for the webinar. You can fill this stuff in as we go. You can print it out, or you can just take your own notes, however you want to do it. But I really wanted to give you guys something, so because last time I was kind of talking and there's a little confusion about kind of what the 10 music theory things were that we went over. So number 2 that we're talking about here on your handout is finding inspiration for effective soloing, or songwriting. I'm going to turn that to Shane first.
Cool.
How do you find inspiration? What do you mean by that?
Well, it does tie in with what we just talked about. Obviously, there's that, right? What you're using, how you're feeling, things like that. For me, I try to listen to as much music as I possibly can. When I was younger, I didn't care for anything but this or this. It's either punk rock music or nothing at all.
Right, yeah.
5 years later, it's nothing but hardcore metal, and I don't care about anything else. I'm too cool to listen to country.
Right.
I'm over my rap phase. I don't want to do that anymore. Things like that. You box yourself in. It's what you like, and everything else sucks.
Yes.
But
youth.
I guess, what's that?
It's called youth.
Yes, youth. It's a great thing. So, but growing as a musician, I just try to dig into as much as possible, finding that it's extremely important, because you'll be inspired in ways, at least I was anyways, inspired in ways I didn't think I would be. So I primarily right now write music that's heavier and you know, kind of the hardcore rock kind of stoner metal thing or whatever you call it. But on my way to work this morning, I'm jamming a Keith Urban album.
So this part of this ability to get inspired is you start out with by listening to a variety of music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So I feel like there are things in every kind of music that can give you ideas and inspire you in ways that you wouldn't have thought possible. So if I'm listening to, like I said, like a Keith Urban record, it doesn't make me want to go play country, but it does when I pick up my guitar the next time. It'll have an effect on what I play and how I want things to sound, and even if it comes down to just song structure. I really like the way that this bridge carried into a final chorus and things like that. And like I said, any music can do that. So that to me is extremely inspiring. Putting on as much as I can. I'll listen to the Cars, and then listen to Michael Jackson, and then listen to something like Skrillex, which I'm embarrassed to say, but I'll listen to something like that, and then I'll go to Taylor Swift, and then I'll go back to Buddy Holly, and it's just like no matter what it is, it's keeping the wheels turning in my head, and to me that is unbelievably inspiring because I want to go write. I want to go do stuff. And obviously, me, no matter what, it's going to sound like me. You know, that's the beautiful part is you can eat all of this stuff, you can channel it all in, but ultimately, when you pick up your guitar and you start playing and you start writing or whatever you're doing, it's going to sound like you. And I think something that's really cool is the way that your mind processes that. You know what I mean? Processes that information and puts it out. So.
Yeah, it's profound. I think so, guys. The big takeaway for what Shane is I think the point that he's really driving at is if you're taking notes on your handout, if you're on number 2 under finding inspiration for effective songwriting, one of the tips, and I know he actually goes into inner environment and some other things in the actual course, but right now he's just basically saying you need to get out of your little rice bowl. You know, if you think that you only like country music, well, you need to flip the station and go listen to some other guitar players, or some other music that's maybe has nothing to do with guitar at all. Like I remember when I was writing, composing music years ago, I grew up kind of in a classical environment, so I would listen to like Beethoven string quartets, and then I would be totally moved emotionally, and then I go back to my guitar and I would try to do something, not to imitate it, but just my mind was kind of in that genre at that time, but I'm doing something that has nothing to do with Beethoven, but I was kind of inspired by something totally unexpected. I think that's the big takeaway here, guys, is get inspired. How about, what's your take on that, Steve, quickly?
Well, I agree with everything he just said. I would add, like for me, when you write, one thing I would say is don't label yourself. Like Shane was saying, you don't go, well, I'm a blues guy, or I'm a blues girl, and so that's all I can do. Don't do that. Right. Half the fun of learning a lot of songs as you continue to on this guitar journey, all of these songs should be inspiring you to see and to think differently about music. And so for me, music is really two things. It's either internal or it's external. And quite simply, what that means is if I'm in a mood, I don't try and change the mood. I absorb that mood. So if it's late at night and I'm feeling low, I go with it. And I just stay in that mood. It might be dark in my room, whatever might be happening. And I actually have playlists with my music, whether it's Spotify or iTunes or whatever it might be, of stuff that I have listened to over the years that just kind of gets me into a certain place. And I'll listen to that music to kind of keep me in whatever it is, whether it's excited, whether it's heavy, whether it's mellow, whether it's sad. So internally, I'm using the music that I'm listening to enhance the way I'm feeling. The other thing that I'll do is if I'm not feeling anything, I'll listen to music to try and find something that I'm grabbing onto, and I'll find a riff or an idea or a drum beat or something that I'm listening to, and I'll go, okay, I could do something with that, and then I'll start messing around over the top. So really, it can come from an external source, or sometimes I just embellish on what I'm trying to do inside.
Super cool. I love it. Awesome. Yeah, there's actually, not to go too deep into this, but there's actually a neurological thing that happens in your brain when you listen to music, which is there's this endorphin dump. And actually the word doping, like drug addicts, actually comes from endorphins. So there's a chemical thing that happens in your brain, guys, when you listen to music. That's why we feel like happy or sad, or it gave me chill bumps, or it made me, feel like I wanted to crash my head through a wall like some metal music does, or whatever it might be. But there's this chemical thing that happens. So I think it is important that when you go to start to write your own music, you're not operating in this vacuum. You don't sit down and just like create something out of nothing. You really need to get inspired. I think that's the whole point of this. Tip number 2 that we're talking about here, guys, is finding inspiration means sitting down and getting out of your little world that you want to box yourself into and listen to all different types of music, whether it be jazz or rock or punk or classical or whatever your thing is. Just kind of expand your mind.
Get out of the box.
Yep, the one thing I will say, and then we can move on, Dan, but everybody needs to remember that when you start learning how to write, don't expect every song to be a masterpiece, and don't try and use like every chord and every scale and try and make it all deep and complex. Sometimes, many times, the best songs are the ones where it's a simple idea, but you learn how to add things on top. If you have a drum beat, you learn how to add a bass line. You learn how to add a guitar line. You learn how to add a vocal line, a piano line, who knows? And by the time you're done, you have this wonderful song that you probably would have thrown away because you're a guitar player and you're thinking, well, this song only has 4 chords, and to be taken serious, I need to have 19 chords. You can't think like that. You just have to go with the flow.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, so on to number 3, creating a killer melody to inspire ideas. How in the world would anybody go about creating a killer melody to inspire ideas?
I think it just starts
Can you
with...
give us an example?
What's that?
And can you give us an example?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it just starts with sitting down and messing around and trying stuff. I feel like, you know, kind of what Steve said, I guess, in the last thing here. If you're a guitar player or a musician at all, a drummer or whatever, and you sit down and you really only do what you know, right? You really only do the same few tricks you might have up your sleeve. Maybe you know a blues riff of some sort, so you sit down and you just play it over and over again, or whatever it is. Try doing something else. It doesn't have to be out of a book. It doesn't have to be off of online video. It doesn't have to be any of that. Take your guitar. It's a musical instrument. Put your fingers in different spots and try to make something cool.
Yeah.
You know, try and see if you can get some sort of sound or some sort of weird chord you didn't know that you kind of like. Explore the instrument. You know, I think that can bring on a ton of ideas.
Give us an idea, Steve. Maybe you have an idea on, like, I don't want to put Shane on the spot, so I'll put you on the spot. What do you know, if you have a killer melody, you know, to inspire?
Well, think about this. Let me play this real quick. See if you know this. It's a Joe Satriani melody.
Yeah.
There's something, and like he was just saying, there's something about exploring the fretboard, and it's one thing that a lot of guitar players do not do. They're so, and don't get me wrong, because we've all been there, but you learn G and you learn D and you learn C and everything is G, D, C over and over and over, and you never just stop and explore the vastness of the instrument. You know, you take one string, for instance, and you pluck that one string and you start looking. And you just start learning how to create something, and it could be just that much that inspires a whole new level of something. It doesn't have to be a solo, and that's what we get trained to think, is everything's got to be a solo. We're soloing. It doesn't. Repetition is one of the most important things that you can possibly do on this instrument, because it's what humans react to. It's what we all listen to. That's why we're here. You know, you hear... we react to those things, and so, and that's the thing that everybody on this webinar needs to understand, is you can do this as much and as well as anybody else on the planet. It's just that you've convinced yourself many times that you can't because they're great and we're not, and it's not that way at all. It's not that way at all.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Look, I think you know, testimony to that is just going to Spotify and just looking about how many songs that you've never heard of, and you've never heard of the artist, and you're like, this is really cool, dude. This is amazing. Well, I think all this new technology has enabled a lot of people to be able to put their ideas on, you know, the old interwebs out there, and to download and to publish and to put out on YouTube and other places. But the cool part is exactly what you just said, Steve. We have the ability, I think self-doubt creeps in to such an extent that we're like, oh, we can't write our own music, or that's for, like, you know, people that are much more talented than me or whatever. All of that's just totally false.
Right. It is. It totally is.
So,
I'm sorry, real quick,
Yeah, go ahead,
David,
man.
you're asking about effects pedals. We're going to get to that in a minute, because Shane's actually a monster at being able to use effects pedals to inspire his playing too, so we'll get to that in just a minute.
Cool.
Nice. Oh, yeah, tapped on the chat thing, and I see there's a gazillion questions on here. Okay, so yes, we will start trying to answer some of those. By the way, Jeremy got the Joe Satriani right there, and so did Greg. Sweet. Okay, so let's talk about tone. What is the importance of killer tone? And I'll throw this one over to you first, Steve, and then we'll bounce it over to Shane.
Okay. Well, for me, it makes all the difference in the world, because if I'm sitting around, let's say I have a sound like this. I play more in that vein when I've got a clean sound. You know, like that sort of thing. And if I throw this on, then I've got more of these ideas. All that kind of stuff. And so tone makes all the difference in the world. If I'm playing an acoustic guitar, I play it very different than I do when I grab an electric guitar. And what we're going to talk about in a second here with Shane is effects, because somebody did mention that it makes a huge difference. If you buy a processor or something and you plug it in and it's got some crazy bouncy delay thing and you start messing around with it, you're like, wow, that's really, I don't have a cool delay set right now, but you could set it and it'd be bouncing back and forth, and you've got like a kind of thing, and it's bouncing back and forth, it's ponging, and you're like, wow, that's the coolest thing ever. And you never would have done that without it, you know?
Sure. Cool. Yeah, what's your take on that, Shane?
The Edge from U2.
Yes. Yes.
That guy's rig is insane.
Yes.
But yeah, killer guitar tone and how important it is. For me, when I would just play whatever guitar we had at home at the time, when I was I don't know, probably 18 or so, it was cool. I enjoyed playing guitar and it was awesome. I went to the music store not long after that with a fistful of cash that I'd gotten for my birthday, played a couple guitars on the wall, whatever, and came across a particular Fender, plugged it into a Marshall TSL 100, and for some reason in that moment in testing all of that stuff, I felt like I was playing better, I was more inspired, everything was just like, I've never felt this good. And it wasn't just because I was playing through expensive stuff, it's just the tone and how it felt, everything was just locked, and I was like, man, I just want to do so much right now, you know? So I feel like, I mean, same with drums. I'm also a drummer. It's like you get on a kit that sounds great, it just feels like you play better, you know? It pushes you to do more, I think. So I think it's extremely important to find whatever it is that you enjoy. So go ahead, Steve.
Well, to add on to that, if you think about it, like I always thought the Goo Goo Dolls was a really cool band simply because what he would do is he would purposely retune his guitar really bizarre so he couldn't play the normal things. Mm-hmm. He had to force himself to be outside the box when he wrote things because the tuning would be odd. So he had to refinger everything differently, and he'd come up with, I think his name was Trent, but he would come up with all these awesome things. And so retuning your guitar, having a 7-string guitar or a baritone guitar, things like that can make a huge difference because when you go to play it, everything feels different or it looks different. You know, if you tune your guitar to an open D tuning and you try and play, you're going to go, wow, that's weird. Everything's different, you know?
Mm-hmm. Totally. No, totally. I completely agree. So, and with me, I started adding, like we were talking about effects pedals earlier. I started adding effects pedals in. I don't remember. I came across. I went to a show and this guy was using like this monster pedal board of stuff, and I had no idea what he was doing, but his feet were everywhere. But I just remember it being the biggest, coolest, like spaciest sound. And I wanted to have that. So when I got home from that show, I went out and bought a delay pedal and just started using it, and mainly just for just kind of single note stuff, just kind of doing the Like just stuff that's just kind of ripping on it and letting the delay carry it, and then adding in some of the alternate picking once you really get a little more into it, though. I just always thought that sounded really, really cool, especially over, you know, another guitar player just doing some like. And you get that in there. Yeah. It just sounds so awesome, and it's so much fun. And that goes back to the melodies thing too. I mean, you can find really cool melodies using the delay, even if it's just doing something like here. Let me see here. If I've also got a little loop pedal here. So if I start playing just keep those going. Start adding in the alternate picking. I mean, even
that's
that,
awesome.
Hearing that, it makes you create a melody and you find something cool, and that little guy just like hovers above the big rock chords. And just to talk a little bit more about what, I don't know if anybody's curious about what we're using here, but
yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
The delay, I don't buy really expensive boutique-y stuff because I've played all of it and it sounds great, but the $600 Panther delay pedal, for me, I feel like my $120 Boss DD6 sounds just fine. That's just for me. But so I've got that delay pedal. I picked up this reverb pedal recently. It's made by a company called Mr. Black, and it's called the Eterna Gold Modified Reverb. And this actually adds in 4 octaves that you can mix into the reverb. So if I'm just playing a regular, just like a D chord, actually I'll clean it up too. The D sounds cool, right?
Almost sounds like an eventide.
Once you add in more of the shimmer effect, which is the octaves, I mean, you can get this thing as intense as you want it to.
It sounds like an eventide.
And if you want, it'll actually, the decay goes for up to 60 seconds, which is ridiculous. Oh, cool. I don't know why you'd ever want to decay for 60 seconds, but if you're that kind of dude in that kind of mood, you could do that. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then for the loop pedal, I use this Boss DD20 delay, which is actually the more expensive Boss delay, and I bought it thinking like, yeah, I use delay a lot, I should spend more money on one. Ultimately, I just use it for a loop that only lasts for about 25 seconds. So, not getting my money's worth out of that one, but I've had it for like 10 years now, and it's not going anywhere. So
that's a good point, man. You start putting this stuff in your kind of arsenal, and you can whip it out anytime you want.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
The thing, Shane, like for everybody to understand out there, there are the purists. There are those people that don't really believe in effects, and that's awesome. And then there are those people that use effects, but they don't understand how to use them, so they wind up with a mess. You know, a lot of people go, I don't like distortion, or I don't like to use delay, or whatever. But you have to remember, there's a lot of guitar players out there that use effects exactly for what we're talking about right now, for inspiration, for writing. And Shane is very much one of those players. So he's not trying to hide behind some sort of talent that he lacks, because he doesn't lack any talent. He is using the effects to bring him to another level. And you have to understand, like most guitar players, you have a rig that you use in the studio for writing and creating all these things. And then when you go out on stage and you're going to play, you probably won't be able to use all of that stuff. You've got a band that you're playing with to sort of recreate these elements.
Right.
But don't misunderstand like a delay as being, well, you use a delay because you have to use a thing to hide behind. It's not about that. It's about bringing you to another level.
Sure.
I would never look at like Edge that you talked about, like from U2. I would never look at him and go, he can't play. He's just on a different level than I am with effects that he uses. So.
Yeah, and it's just a different flavor of music, and some might be asking, with all this talking about pedals, what does it have to do with songwriting? But for me, it has everything to do with songwriting. Sure. This is what I do. This is how I use these pedals. They're a paintbrush for me. They're one of the
way to put it.
tools I use to create what I feel like I'm best at and what inspires me most. And
absolutely.
So, but yeah. Anyways, that's why tone and all that. Yeah, I mean, extremely important.
So check this out, guys. I just put this poll up. It says, why do you want to write your own songs? And we gave them 3 options: to express myself, I got 48% of the vote; to feel a sense of accomplishment, got 18% of the vote; and to record my own music, got 34%. So the question again was, why do you want to write your own songs? And the folks on this call, 48% of them said to express myself, and 33% said record my own music, which I think that's a natural progression, which is you want to play, and then it's like, wow, now it would be pretty cool if somebody else was interested in this music, and maybe they would like what I wrote here, I mean, regardless of what we want to think as musicians, we actually want people to like our music.
Mm-hmm.
You really do. Deep down in the dark part of your heart, you're like, yes.
Well, that's why it's important at some point in your life you have to stop trying to impress everybody else, and you have to start trying to impress yourself.
That's
it's got to come from within,
And I think ultimately, if you do what it is that you do, to fulfill that thing for yourself, I feel like you end up impressing people.
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah. Absolutely. Once you're honest with yourself, I totally agree. That's right.
So,
I think the big contradiction with so many guys who start out like, I'll use Pearl Jam for example, or even Nirvana, they start out one way, and then all of a sudden they're these dudes, and they're like on Saturday Night Live, and they're selling records, and then the big record guy is like, okay, you need to put out another album so we can sell more, and it has to have a hit, and it's like then they start trying to write stuff, and it's like,
no,
this ain't as good as the original stuff.
No.
Before you had any pressure on you.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. For sure, I think bands and artists are best just doing what it is that they do, and that's where you see the best results and the best records. I mean, I was just telling someone the other day, I feel like if you write for you and what it is that's inspires you versus trying to cater to a certain market or try to hit this or this or this, or this is what's cool, so let's try to add in more of this. I feel like if you're an artist that does it for you, you stand a better chance of your records and your music being longer lasting and memorable, versus just a month thing and then it's gone, So,
sure.
Hey, this is a little embarrassing. I need to go grab the laptop charger here, so hold on one second, guys.
Go, go, go.
I grabbed it before, but my Mac has apparently let me down here, so...
Yeah, all right. Go grab it. So, yeah, Steve says, would not want to do it for a living, too much pressure. Steve, I totally agree. I think the guys that are writing music for a living that are under the gun to put out the next thing, like somehow we envy them that they have like the perfect life and whatever. But in my opinion, I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. I think they have a really, really hard life.
You think about like the story of if anybody knows the story of Peter Frampton with Frampton Comes Alive, that album was huge, and then when he had that album. The record label's like, you got to get back in the studio now, and you obviously have to release something that's just as big. And he had no idea how he did what he did before Frampton Comes Alive. He just was doing what we do, just sitting around. Now all of a sudden he has to go back in the studio and try and recreate some sort of magic that he doesn't understand, and he wasn't able to do that, obviously. So it's those sophomore and junior albums that are really, really tough for bands to live through.
Super cool. So, look, I know that Shane has to bounce out of here pretty quickly, so I want to get to a couple of other things here, guys. And I want you guys to give me some examples. I'm looking at some of the feedback. One of the questions here is, Lisa says, a song, give us an example, a song about this webinar, and then another person said, Peter said, I thought Shane would be teaching a preview. So I think as musicians, we want to hear this stuff. We can talk about this stuff, but even for me, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I need to hear what you're talking about, man. Don't just tell me, like, show me that whole Rush song thing, if you remember that. So, so on number 6, for example, so let's just recap what we've covered. The first thing we've covered is why you need to learn to be expressive with your playing, and I think the answer to that was so you can express yourself, because if you have this stuff in your head, and then if you can learn to express it with your playing, then that's the whole point, right? And number 2 is finding inspiration. We talked about listening to other styles of music. That's super important. Don't just stay in your little rice bowl, I call it. Get out of that and listen to all different types of music. Stuff that you would never even consider listening to, do it. It will have an effect on your playing. The third thing we talked about was creating killer melodies. So you can start out with a melody, and then you can actually create an entire song around just one simple melody. Then number 4, by the way, guys, I'm just going straight down the handout that you should have received already. Number 4 was the importance of a killer guitar tone. We talked about tone. Steve showed you an example with like distortion, and then he contrasted that with a clean tone. Kind of sets the mood for the entire song. That's another way to get inspired, is just to try some kind of new tone that you may not have tried before. Mm-hmm. And then number 5, we are now on collaboration creates creativity. So what does that even mean, Stine? Collaboration creates creativity.
It's very simple. I mean, if I exist here and I write something, there's only so much I can do as a human. But if I get together with Shane and I go, hey, Shane, I've got this idea, and I play it, Shane, and we talk about this in the course as well, but Shane will be able to bounce, we can bounce back and forth with ideas. And that's really what the point of a band is, whether it's 2 people or 3 people or 5 people or whatever. You know, sometimes we think that because we are a musician, we're supposed to do everything on our own. You know, I've seen a few people talk about lyrics. Lyrics are the last, I mean, this is just a personal preference. I could care less about lyrics. I could listen to instrumental music all day long because it's what I really enjoy listening to. Where some people, lyrics are the most important thing because that's what they listen to. And so my collaborations, like I did the collaboration with Steve Grimmett from Grim Reaper, I wrote the beds for all the songs, and then I would send them over to him in England, and then he would write the lyrics over the top. So I would create the entire song, bass, drums, guitar, everything like that, and then I would send it to him, and then all he would do, which we're going to get to in a little bit, is he would just restructure it. He would copy and paste the pieces in different orders and send it back to me and go, can you re-record it like this so I can sing over the top? So then I'd re-record all the parts, send it to him, he would record his lyrics, and boom, we had music. So collaboration is incredibly important because somebody else can offer all the things that you cannot.
Yeah, exactly. And it you know, again, going back to the environment and the setting, you know, when you're in a room with, you know, in my case, some other guys, and we're having a few beers, hanging out, what we do and create in that room is going to be way different than what I would just sit and do here by myself plugged into my amp, you know.
Let's try this, Shane. So people can hear us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a melody for you. I'm going to play a little riff in the key of A. Now we can't play together because of the limitations of the internet, but I'll play a riff, and then you have to think about it in your head, everybody, and then Shane will try and come up with a chord progression that would go underneath this, okay?
Cool.
Now, I don't know what I'm going to do. Let's just see what the heck we get, right?
Let's see what happens.
Okay. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to be in the key of A. We'll keep it nice and easy.
Good. Cool. So, I mean, when I hear that, like I said, I want to slap on the pedals and kind of do my thing a little bit. So I like finding really straightforward, really really straightforward melodies. Nothing too chaotic, nothing hard to follow. When I write melodies, I always try to think of, could someone sing along to this melody? Could a crowd that might not be the most musical of crowds, could they follow this guitar melody with their voices and hit it every time and remember it? You know what I mean? So with that, you're playing an A, which actually, here's what I'll do, Steve, to maybe make up for some of that. I'll get the A rolling. So there's just an A. You can sing. You know what I mean? It's just
that's cool.
So many different ways.
See, I wish I was with him right now because we could take this.
Right.
I'm just frustrated right now because we could be doing something with this right now.
Yeah, and I mean, so that's the thing. I mean, even just, you know, Steve, you just doing the A. I mean, right away it gives me something to feed off of, and I start hearing things, and with that little melody, you know, it really breathes life and makes that real. And all it is just two little guitar parts over one chord. I mean, it's nothing crazy, you know what I mean? But instantly you get in a vibe, and then you put some vocals to it. If you don't know what to do with vocals, like I said, think with the guitar. You know, try to find something simple, and so right there, you're right. I'm frustrated because I actually really liked what just happened there.
So everybody on this call, you gotta try this stuff, people. You gotta try and make some things up. Go to the Facebook community page and post something. Post a little idea of something. You know, so somebody else could respond to it. You know, that's how all this music stuff should be. You should be working together.
Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree. And we've really made an effort to try to bring people together in our Facebook community. And people are wondering, like, well, what happened to forums and what happened to, like, that kind of thing. But Facebook just seems to be such an easy way for people to kind of collaborate and to get in and to actually help each other out. Which is one of the reasons we have a private Facebook group, guys, that if you decide to register for the songwriting class, Shane is going to hang with you for 4 weeks during the class and answer any questions that you've got specifically about his class. And also Stine's going to be helping him out a little bit, do some of the teaching. So it's going to be 3 modules. It's going to be three main classes and then 4 live classes, which will be recorded, kind of like this. But you'll have access to them forever. Oh, great! Somebody's at my front door right now. You're gonna have to wait. And then, and so, okay, so we've already covered. Let's see, the collaboration aspect of it, and I actually just put a poll up, and it looks like asked, would you like to do a live songwriting clinic in LA? And the answer was 67% of the people said yes. 68%. It's fluctuating.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, I think LA would be a pretty cool place to end up because there's a lot of great musicians out there, and it's kind of easy to fly to. We could do something like that. Now they're beating on my front door. I hope it's not the IRS or somebody. All right, so or the police. Let's see here. Okay, this is funny. My doorbell's ringing off. Hang on.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on while he's doing his thing and getting his pizza. He should grab me a beer while he's on his way.
Guys, I'm jealous of you. Beers and pizza.
Let's move on to number 6, the value of fretboard exploration. This is really important, everybody. Try not to just play the same old, and this, again, is where songs are going to influence you, experiences, jamming with people, all those things are going to influence.
That was pretty funny.
But if you take, for instance, let's take a chord, like let's take C, for instance. I want you to see this. If I just take a C chord, watch what happens if I do this. If I take the C and go like this. Let me go to a cleaner sound there. learning how to do different, unique things on the guitar, exploring ideas. I'm sure some of you have heard this before. If I go... Okay, it's Rooster by Alice in Chains. Learning how to take that bar off and do things. That's right. So exploring the fretboard, not just going with bar chords and not just going with open chords, but learning how to do some really fun stuff with the things that you do know.
Totally. Yeah.
I love it.
I agree, man. I think that's awesome. And you know, all of this, I'm glad we're breaking this all up. But I mean, as most of you can see, a lot of these 7 points really tie in together. So, like back when we were talking about just being expressive, you know, with how you were playing. Well, it's no different than how you look at your fretboard and what you want to do with it. So, you know, right when Steve was playing that C, I just started doing like a... You know, just something to kind of layer over top of it. And what I like doing too with some of that stuff is, you know, if I'm playing, and what that is, guys, it's just an octave of C. So playing the octave, and what I'll do is I'll take it up here instead, just an entirely new octave. Which brings a different character to that, you know. So it's important to just try things in different areas of the fretboard. You know what I mean? I know we keep saying that, exploring and whatnot, but it's so true. So.
Hey, let me bounce this off of you because I know you got to head out here in just a second, but I do want to cover this before you leave.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the value of collaboration, the value of kind of exploring the fretboard. We've already talked a little bit about that. The thing that I really want to jump to, and we can come back to this in a minute, but this is one that I keep seeing questions about over here.
Mm-hmm.
Song structure.
Yeah.
Can you guys, either one of you, I don't care which, give all of us an example of song structure? What do we mean? And let us hear it. Give us an example.
Let's see.
Here, I'll do one real quick.
Okay.
So song structure, for instance, would be in generic terms, you'd have verse, bridge, chorus, or something like that, right? So I'm going to come up with a verse that's going to sound like this. I'm going to play A minor, F, and G. So I'm going. So my song structure, I've got my theme, my idea for a verse. Now I've got to build a bridge that's going to connect to the chorus. So now I'm in the key of A minor here, so I'm going to take 2 chords. I'm going to use F and G as my bridge. So I'm going. Now I'm going to hit my chorus. Now to make my chorus really dynamic, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the same chords, but I'm going to emphasize a C major chord. So I get this kind of sound. I'm going to go back into my verse. So I've got a verse that's doing A minor, F, and G, a pre-chorus or a bridge, whatever you want to call it, that's moving F and G to fill space. And then I've got my chorus that's going C, G, and F. So it's all in the same key, but because the verse is more based off the A minor and the chorus is more based off the C, they sound more dynamically different. So that's kind of what a song structure would be.
Right, totally. Go forward on that, how you structure the song is obviously entirely up to you. So, like Steven mentioned, there's very typical formulas that you could follow, and most of them will be verse, chorus, verse, chorus, a bridge of some sort to change the song up, and then you'll end with another chorus. That's very, very, very typical, what you probably hear on the radio a lot today. Or different little variations of that. So maybe the chorus will go 2 times the second time, or the end chorus will go 2 times. So it's all about what you want to do and what you're trying to go for. So for me, if I'm going to play a verse, and actually that might be too loud, but if I'm going to play a verse, Steve, I'm going to kind of follow you on that, how it's just a little bit more. Actually, I think you were kind of open picking a little bit more, but for me, I want to create a mood and create an effect. So if I'm in a verse, typically my verses are going to be down, right? So I might palm mute. Right? It just kind of feels like it's not big. It's very, very mild, right? When you kick into that chorus, you want the chorus to explode, right? And not every song, but I'm just talking if I were to write one right now. So I'd have that chorus explode, so I'd come out of the palm muting, and I would just nail it, and maybe switch up the chord structure a little bit. So if I'm coming out of the verse, chorus, back to the verse.
Right. Now,
right?
Shane, and then while he's doing that, collaboration would say you could have some sort of thing going on, some sort of a... You see? And you put them all together.
Let's take it a step further now. And this is where the collaboration comes in. This is what I love, and this is what's frustrating about being on the other side of the country. But when you're adding in that little lick, right? Which is cool. I really like it. Let's just, so far, guys, we've given you chorus and another verse, right? Well, how do you make the first verse different from the second verse? It doesn't have to be different, but it certainly adds a nice color to the song. So maybe in the first verse, it's just me doing my thing. When we come in with the second verse, all of a sudden you have what's Steve playing. It adds this new color, this new layer. Right, and it doesn't just feel like, oh, here's another verse. You're living in the song, and the song is moving, and that's extremely important. And it doesn't have to, the verse is just kind of an example of that. But, I mean, you can do that with your bridges or with your choruses, whatever it is. I think that's extremely important, is knowing how to make the song breathe and knowing how to make it flow and being tasty with that kind of stuff. And going back to what we talked about earlier, you know, if you're in a band or you're jamming with someone and they're playing that rhythm part, it's important for you not to just start doing as much as you can over it because you're trying to find something to do. You know what I mean? You're always wanting to figure out what is going to make this song better. What's catering to the song, and you're trying not to suffocate it, right? You want people to be able to digest what's actually happening. And to take that just one notch further without getting too confusing, vocals. Vocals are extremely important, and if you have a singer singing in a verse, you don't want to be the distracting guitar player that's playing way too much and taking away from the vocals. You know, knowing your role in the song.
So add this, Shane. So let's say we get to the chorus and you're instead of playing the whole time, you're going to let that singer sing. So you go.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you're changing up the rhythm. So it's still in 4/4 or whatever. I mean, we could do whatever we want. but you're changing up the rhythm a little bit. You're giving space to breathe. So now your singer could be going, you know, and it's more held out where you're playing more punchy things.
And as a drummer, that would be the funnest thing to play. Kind of following that rhythm and that pattern. And I guess going back to one thing I didn't really explain is when we came out of that very first verse, if you guys remember, going back to this, right? This was our verse. Before we opened up into the chorus, I didn't just all of a sudden start playing the chorus. There was a stop there, right? And that's just to add a dramatic effect. So when you're playing the verse and all of a sudden the air gets sucked out of it, and boom, the chorus smacks you in the face, right? That's really important. So just to show you what I'm talking about in case you don't really remember what happened, we're in this. Right? You just have that little stop, boom, crack, and you're in. So I'm talking like a drummer again, but that's going to add way more of an effect. That's going to add for an explosive chorus. So transitions, obviously, transitions are
there's so many things
in the world, but and what'll be nice is spending time with you guys over the next few weeks and getting to dive into some of that stuff, which I think that'll be cool. We'll be more than happy to answer those questions and talk about that, transitions and things like that. So, be
awesome,
good.
Dude. So, actually, Daniel mentions right here on this comment, he says, Shane is going to be late for the gig.
Isn't that what musicians do, though? We're always late, so who cares?
Yeah. So, dude, I know we're bumping up on your time because you said you drop dead. You got to walk out at, what was it, 8:15 or 9:15 or something?
We're doing all right. We're doing all right.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of stuff here, guys, and I think it's important to point out, guys, we're talking about something that's hard to wrap your head around when you first start doing it. I mean, because it's just like this giant blob of bubble gum that's going all million places and stretches, and it's and I approach it differently than Steve or Shane, and if you get 3 more musicians in a room, they're going to approach songwriting a different way. We're just trying to give you some tips to kind of get you started. I mean, the long and short of it is you're going to have to sit down and just start trying stuff, man, and just not care about what it sounds like or who's listening, or just get it down. Get 4 notes on the fretboard and play those 4 notes, and then start putting some rhythm to it, and change the tone and give a dirty tone, give a clean tone, put a delay on it, and then just keep playing with it. I mean, sometimes this stuff takes hours, days, weeks to write, one main riff of a tune that you might want to do, and then other times it just comes to you like that, and you can write the whole thing, in a few minutes sometimes. But it's hard for, I'm seeing a lot of the questions. I mean, they just keep piling in about different things, but I guess the point I'm trying to drive at here, guys, is this is not as clear cut as some of the other courses that we've done. This is a big topic, and actually the reason that Steve mentioned, when he came up with the songwriting idea, and then Shane came and did it, and produced it and everything with us, I started looking at it, and I'm like, man, this is going to need some Q&A. This is going to need some intervention from you guys. This is going to need some input. So I went back and asked Steve, would he be willing, or Shane, if he'd be willing to come back and hang with you guys in a real hands-on sense inside the Facebook group, and also and he said, sure, you do that for 4 weeks, and also give you guys some live lessons where you can actually get on just like this, pop your questions in there, he can answer you, and then Steve said that, if his schedule permits, that he would jump in and try to do at least one of those over the 4 weeks as well. So it's, we're trying to cover a lot here and just give you a few tips so that hopefully this has been helpful. But I think maybe the big takeaway for all of this, guys, is that it's okay to approach songwriting however you think is best. We're going to give you these big block structures of transitions and verse and chorus and all of this stuff, these things to think about, but ultimately it's a very, it's not like learning your ABCs. You know, like there's one way to learn ABCs,
Right.
and they go in a certain order. It's not the way with writing music.
Hey guys, do you mind? I know we're at 8:10, but do you mind if I address one question that people always have, and I totally get it, which is copying other people's music. And the kind of the confusion with that, because you know, when I was a kid, I assumed that, like, if you learned how to play somebody's song and you used anything from that song, you were stealing. And I remember somebody telling me once a long time later that it's kind of like trying to be an artist and not studying other painters. It's
Right.
impossible. You're never going to come up with anything without studying other people's music. So I don't know where the fine line is between too much or not enough. I mean, I think that everybody has to make that kind of decision, but don't think you're going to come up with a chord progression that has never been come up before, because it's probably impossible. So why not look at the great players and figure out something that you can do? And again, I'm not going to go on talking for an hour, but you know, Led Zeppelin to Kiss to whoever, all of these bands have openly displayed where their influences, they didn't call it copying, but where their influences come from. So let me show you an example. If anybody knows this song, I'm going to play this. I don't know if it's in the right key or not, but if I go like this. Right? So we got another brick in the wall. Okay, let's say we take those chords. I'm going to move it to the key of C sharp minor instead of D minor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it into a C sharp minor 7 to give it a little bit more jazzy sound, a little more bluesy sound. I'm going to give it a bit more funk rhythm. Now watch here. And I've just created something new from an idea from something old.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You want to use that music to influence you. You know, I'm not going to take their "we don't need no nacho cheese chips." You know, I can't just change the words and get away with that. I can't borrow their melodies and all their chord changes and everything, but I can take an idea, whether it's a groove, a chord progression, a feel, a tone. I mean, it could be all kinds of different things that can influence me to move somewhere. And you can do this. You can take an idea from another song and kind of build around that idea.
Very cool.
Yeah, totally.
Well, Shane, I want to thank you for being here, dude. I know you got to go to a gig since you are a real musician. And who are you playing with tonight?
Just doing me, man. Just me.
Okay.
I have been trying to do some more kind of mellowed out, just kind of solo stuff, just for fun and to try something different.
Sure.
And yeah, so that's what's going on. And
Is it
actually,
mostly covers, or you're doing some of your original stuff?
just original stuff. So
Just your original stuff.
just original stuff. Yeah.
Super cool. Is there any way we can get a recording of some of your stuff? I mean, like, how do we get your stuff? By the way, this is a shameless plug for your stuff. How do we get it?
It's all. I mean, it's all over the place. Really, anywhere that you can buy music or anywhere that you can listen to music. I mean, whatever it is, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, eBay, whatever you do for music.
What do we search? The band
just
name or your name?
Just band name will bring up the best results. Everything in slow motion. You can.
Everything is.
Everything in slow motion. Yep. There's music videos, there's live videos, there's obviously the album, and then I've got an EP before that and a few other things. So if you're really interested, definitely go check it out. But
Cool, dude.
yeah, so I guess in closing on my half, I just want everybody to understand. I'm with you, Dan. I feel like if I'm someone that showed up into this chat room wanting to learn how to be a songwriter, and I'm listening to everything we just talked about, my brain is going to be like a fried egg, man. I'm going to be like, I do not understand how to do this by myself. So big picture, the important thing is to remember that this course, we're discussing something that's very much just a creative deal. It's not black and white at all. It's very gray, and it very much depends on the individual. And for me, this is what works for me, and this is what I do. And I'd love to share all of those things with you guys. So don't be afraid of it. At the end of the day, there is no right and wrong way. If you pick up your instrument tonight after you get off of this chat and you just start strumming a couple chords and trying to come up with something, you're doing yourself, you're in the right direction. You're not going to write this verse chorus thing tonight. You don't have to do all of that. It just starts with being creative and trying to bring out the best of what you know in yourself. And after experience and time and years, you start to develop and find what it is that you do best. So
very cool.
There is no way, you know what I mean? It's one of those things. You take in as much knowledge as you can, and then you do what you do. So, cool. But yeah, I just wanted to encourage people in that way, I guess, if any of you are feeling at all frazzled, you know what I mean?
Overwhelmed, yeah.
But
yeah, cool, man. Well, thank you. And I realize we tried to cover a lot here in these kind of 7 secrets of songwriting, but hopefully you've gotten some out of this. I know Shane has to run. Dude, thanks again for being here. Now, let me just ask my tech guys, if he hangs up, is it going to blow the rest of us off of here, or are we cool?
No, we're cool because I'm the admin, so.
Oh, Steve Stine's the admin.
Whoa!
The admin.
Very interesting. Okay, not sure who made that decision. But that's all right, Shane. Thanks for being here, dude. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. I think it's awesome and happy to be a part of it. So. Yeah.
So the class starts August the 5th. So that's when the first module of the songwriting course will be available for anybody who registers, and then Shane will jump in and help you guys on the Facebook community, and then there'll be some live lessons and all of that. We're going to go over some of that here in just a second.
Totally.
Cool. Thanks again, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah, everybody have a good night. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys.
Take care, buddy. Have a good gig.
Thank you.
See ya, man. So, Tom Wolf says Dan's been demoted. Trust me, dude. They never let me be the admin because they know I'll screw it up. So, if you're hanging with us, let's see. We still have 330 people, and we've been on here for an hour and 17 minutes. That's amazing. I do want to mention a couple things. One, we have an awesome bonus for anybody who stays with us to the end of the webinar, which I can promise you it's not going to go as long as it did last time, because we just can't do that. We just can't. But so there's an awesome bonus that you guys are going to get for free at the end of the webinar. We're going to give out the link, and that is Developing Strumming Power. What a course, and that's by Steve. What is that course about, Steve? We've never released that, by the way, to my knowledge.
Well,
what is Developing Strumming Power about?
One of the most important things, and if I had my acoustic, it probably would sound a little better, but strumming power is learning how to play the guitar. Like when you strum the guitar, learning how to play it dynamically, like really drawing in a listener. So instead of going... I'm not saying that that's bad. It's perfectly fine. But learning how to think about hitting the strings, I always use the example of like waves of an ocean. They're kind of unpredictable. Sometimes they're really big, sometimes they're really small, sometimes they're really fast. So when you play, you know what I mean? You're trying to make the guitar part percussion and, of course, the instrument that it is by really thinking about how to make the strumming ebb and flow. And that's what that course is really about, is getting you to think on a deeper level about the way that you're playing. So when people listen to you, I used to work at a music store, and I used to talk about how somebody would come in and they would play music, whether it's on a piano or whether it's on a guitar or whatever, and you could feel the music or the hair on the back of your neck stand up, because you're just like, it feels so good right now, not because it's talented or fast or anything, but it just feels like music. That's what strumming is all about to me. That's
really cool, dude. So that course, it's called Developing Strumming Power. you guys are going to get for free just for hanging with us to the end of the webinar. And so now I'm going to cover what this class is about, because it's actually a lot of stuff, but this is not the typical sales pitch. I actually go into something here that, as I was thinking about this, I think that if you have a gift, okay, that you should share that gift. And actually, I think you have an obligation to share that gift. And I'll explain more of what I'm talking about here in just a second. But I'm going to go to this video, which I pre-recorded, just in case any of you want to blow me up on the chat, because last time they're like, this is pre-recorded, I'm pissed off. I'm like, well, sorry, I didn't want to screw it up. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now it's pre-recorded, but it's very short. So hang with us to the end. Check out this video. This explained just simply to help you decide if this class is for you or not. Just to tell you what it's about. I'm not going to go through every single module, but the main thing I want to get across is the main points of what this course is going to help you be able to do, because it's kind of hard to get your head wrapped around. And then come back, stay with me. Steve and I are going to do a Q&A at the end, so make sure you have your questions ready for us as soon as this is over. Okay? Thanks, guys. So you're watching this webinar on your computer, your mobile phone, or your tablet, and you know that this class will help you become a better guitar player so you can have more fun. You know that songwriting is the ultimate form of self-expression, and this class will unleash your creativity. You'll know how to come up with ideas to get your song started, and how to develop your ideas. How to make up songs from scratch, even if you're a beginner. You'll be able to hear ideas in your head and play them on your guitar. You'll be able to create soul-inspiring melodies. You'll recognize the structure of songs so you can play them quickly and easily. You'll know how to build songs from scratch step by step. You'll know exactly which parts you need for your song, like the verse, the chorus, the solo, etc. You'll know when it's okay to break the rules and structure a song any way that you want, and when it's better to follow the traditional song forms, which is really important when you're improvising with other musicians. You'll know how to turn noodling around into full-blown songs. You'll have freedom. Freedom to express yourself. Freedom to express your ideas, your emotions, your feelings. The freedom to play your own music. To write any song in any style. To play with other musicians with confidence. To collaborate, create, inspire. To do something truly unique, memorable, and something that'll last. Listen, if you apply what you're going to learn, this has the ability to change your life. Now, I know that's a pretty bold statement, right? Because you'll be more confident, bold, and unafraid, expressive, and you'll have the skills to write powerful, moving songs that come from you, from your life experiences, from your heart, mind, and soul. Now, this may sound a little weird to you, so I need you to stick with me here because this is important. I want you to think about the guitarist who inspired you to play. Who was it? Picture that guitarist in your mind right now. What was it about this person that inspired you to say, yes, I want to play guitar? Was it a song, a riff, a solo? How did that feeling affect you? Did it inspire you? Did it give you goosebumps? Did you ever close your eyes in complete musical ecstasy? And did it cause you to start playing guitar? And did playing guitar give you pleasure, happiness, joy, a sense of accomplishment? Of course it did. And the better you got, the more fun it was to play. So playing guitar has changed your life. At least in some small way, playing guitar has made your life better. Now I want you to imagine this. What if the guitarist who inspired you never started playing? What if the music never existed? Would your life be different? Yeah, you bet it would. So here's the point. You've been watching this for a long time, and I want to say thank you. And obviously you believe that you have a gift. And I believe in you too. You got something to share. You just need a little help getting started. Or maybe you want to take your songwriting to a new level. And at this point, your gut's probably saying this course will help you, so you should listen to it. Don't let fear hold you back. You see, a wise man once told me, we regret the things that we did in the short term, but we regret the things we didn't do in the long term a lot more. And if you have a gift, then you have a moral obligation to share it. And if you have a gift for writing songs, then you should hone your skills and share your music, even if it's just with yourself. Don't hide your light under a bushel basket. Put it on a lampstand. Now, fear may be holding you back, and you might be thinking, is this right for me? Fair question. Here's why there's zero risk on your part. You're covered by a 90-day, 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you're unhappy for any reason, just let us know and we'll issue you a fast, friendly, 100% refund, no receipt required. And here's how to contact us. Support at guitarzoom.com. Go online and click on the support link, or just call Katrina, and that's our number right there. This is for you if you want to play your own songs and write your own original music, understand song forms and structures, express yourself, get your ideas out of your head and into songs. Freedom of limitless creativity. You want to improvise and jam with other musicians. Now, this is not for you if you're lazy or you give up easily or you're just simply not willing to practice, because this does take work. The details of everything that's covered in this class is on the website with a description module by module. So just check that out if you want every little detail. But here's what you get. You get 3 modules of step-by-step video training with Shane and Steve. You get 4 one-hour live video sessions. You get the tab transcription for each module. Plus, you get bonuses. And this is a big one right here. 4 weeks of personal help from Shane. Okay? He's going to hang with you in the Facebook group and answer questions for 4 weeks during this class. You're also going to get Steve Stine's Creative Chord Expansion course. And, of course, you're going to get access to the private Facebook group, which goes on after this class is over for continued support. And you get a free downloadable song called Speak by Shane. And he's going to break that down for you step by step, actually in the course, and show you exactly what he was thinking when he wrote that song. You also get these webinar bonuses. The webinar registration bonus is Creating a Killer Guitar Tone, which is also by Steve Stine, which means when you register today, you get this bonus. Now, there's also a webinar attendee bonus just for hanging with us to the end of this webinar. You're going to get Developing Strumming Power, which is also by Steve, which is about a 1-hour course you get just for hanging with us to the end, and we'll give you the link at the end. So just for being here, you get the Developing Strumming Power course, plus when you register today, you get the Create a Killer Guitar Tone course, which is also by Steve. To get your free bonus, you just scroll down to the very bottom of the webpage and you click on this link that says Webinar Attendee Bonus. Now, when you register, you're also going to get this one, the Create a Killer Guitar Tone by Steve. And you'll see this on the webpage as well. So you get all of this stuff. 3 modules of step-by-step video training delivered 1 module per week starting August, I think it's 5th. You get 4 one-hour live video sessions, and those will also be like you'll have 1 module, then you'll have 1 live session, then you'll have another module, another live session, another module, another live session to wrap it all up. And all of those live sessions will be recorded, and you can have access to them forever. You also get a tab transcription for each lesson module. And you get the 4 weeks of personal help from Steve through the Facebook group, which is a private group. You get the Creative Chord Expansion course. You get the private Facebook group, which goes on after this class is over for continued support. You get the free downloadable song Speak by Shane. The registration bonus when you register today is Creating a Killer Guitar Tone, and the attendee bonus is Developing Strumming Power. A total $812 value. So let's talk about your investment. Your investment in this course, even though it's an $812 value, you're obviously not going to pay anywhere close to that. It's 3 easy payments of $99 or just 1 payment of $297. But just to make this a complete no-brainer for you, when you register today, you're not even going to pay 3 payments of $99 or 1 payment of $297. There are 2 payment options. The first is 3 payments of $64.35. You can use your credit or debit card. And option 2 is just 1 payment of $148.50. Credit, debit, or even you can use PayPal for that option. That's 50% off the $297 price, and you save $148.50 off of the regular price. And remember, you're covered by the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to lose. It's absolutely risk-free. You can take this entire class, and if for any reason you're not happy with it, which I know you will be, but even if you aren't, just contact us and let us know, and we'll issue you a fast, friendly refund, no receipt required. So, register now. Click the I Want This button, which should be on your screen somewhere right now. Fill out the form and get instant access to all the bonuses. Check your email, and you'll have a receipt there. You'll also have a request to go over to Facebook and send us a request. We actually have to manually approve you to this group. Like I said, it's a private group. And then you can post your statement of commitment, which says what you're committing to get out of this class, and everybody else is going to help hold you accountable so you can definitely achieve your goals. And remember, class starts August 5th. So let's switch it back to the live presentation now. Okay, so cool. Now, what I want you guys to do is to send over your questions, and Steve and I are going to do our best to answer them. And guys, there's a pretty cool little thing when you're actually trying to send in a question. I think you click a button or something over there, and it shows up to Steve and I as like a question. It's like framed up, it's red, and it shows us. So if you just have a comment, don't use that. But if you have a question, send it so we can actually to get right to that. So,
and then explain to us how you did it, because we don't know how to do it.
Yeah, please explain everything, because we have no idea what we're doing. So yeah, there should be a box somewhere, guys, on the side of your screen that says Songwriting Secrets Made Simple, and it's for the class, which starts August 5th, and you should be able to click on the I Want This button. And it should take you over to the page, and then you can register. There is a payment plan. I think I already went over that in the presentation, but okay, check it out. Send over your questions, okay? And Steve and I will do our best to answer them about songwriting, and I will bounce them off of you, Steve.
Okay.
So the very first question Jeremy asked is this course for intermediate or advanced songwriters?
Oh, no, this would definitely be, it would be for intermediate and advanced. I mean, it's not for, the whole thing with this particular course with Shane is what we try and give you is concepts to try and add into the things that you're already doing. So if you're an open guitar chord player or a power chord player or a bar chord player, it doesn't really make any difference. It's the concept. And that's something that I can kind of show too, Dan, if you want me to. But
yeah, go ahead, man.
Questions. Well, basically, I mean, think about it. If you were an open chord player, the trick is thinking about how to make things, the structure of the song we talked about, and then trying to figure out how to make that song dynamic. If you want it to sound happy, or you want it to sound sad, you want it to sound moody. So if I was to take, for instance, and use the chords G, C, D, and E minor, and I did something like this, I went, sorry, I'll put it a little cleaner. So I've got, then of course you would learn how to start putting a melody over the top. You might have, you see what I mean? So you start learning how to put two and two together to create something. Now you could take that chord progression and you could embellish it all sorts of different ways. If you want to take this G chord, you started going, and then I went to D. I mean, there's all, so it doesn't matter whether you just know certain chords or other chords. You use the theory, the concept of it, to make all kinds of cool stuff.
Nice. So, guys, there are a ton of questions on here. I'm going to try to do my best to help Steve answer every single one of these. One question that Char, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, I'm guessing that might be Charlie, will lyrics be addressed?
Lyrics will not be addressed in this one. We talk primarily about the construction of the song. Lyric songwriting is something that actually would be really fun to do.
Yeah, so the answer to that is it's not going to be.
No, there isn't lyric content in here.
No. Okay. Next question. Is there any kind of simplistic, this is from Rick, by the way, is there any simplistic way to approach creating the bridge in a song?
Well, to be able to create the bridge, the easiest thing to do is to define what your verse and your chorus are going to be. Now, again, everybody's definition of what a bridge is different, but I always think of a bridge as being whatever's between a verse and a chorus. You're bridging those two pieces together. We'll call that the bridge. So a bridge really just has to get you from point A to point B, but you have to define what those 2 points are. That's what I always do, is I try and start with defining, like if I play a chord progression, I don't immediately go, that's a verse because it's the first thing I wrote. I just listen to it and then decide, what is it more defining to be a chorus, and then I'll make a verse from there. So if I was doing something and I went, which is just A, right? So I'm doing A, then I head down. See what I mean? So I could have that as my verse. Well, then we got to think, okay, well, if I'm going to get from my verse to my chorus, I just need something in between to transition. Usually it's going to be different chords, right? I might go... Here it comes. Now I'm back. If that kind of makes sense.
That does very much make sense. Guys, I'm actually trying to type a few questions here and answer you. I'm answering Travis right now. Travis, thanks for being here. He said he's got to bounce. So, okay. We covered Rick's question. I just saw an awesome one. Let me jump up here. Tom says, will this be released as a course, or will there be an entirely new course on songwriting later? So the answer, Tom, is it's going to be 3 modules. Okay, so it's module 1. That all of those lessons have already been recorded. They're going to be ready for you on August 5th. So when you log into the website, you'll be able to access those. Okay, and hopefully our transcriptionist will be finished with it by then too, so you'll have the transcription. Then module 2. So it's module 1, and then we have a live class. I'm not sure what the date of that's going to be, but the live class will be there to help you with the stuff that was covered in module 1. Okay, and it'll be a live Q&A thing, kind of like this. Then the next module comes, so it'd be module 2, another set of lessons, tab, etc. Another Q&A, a live Q&A call. Then module 3, and then there's another Q&A, and then there's a 4th one that kind of ties the whole thing together. And then Shane is going to be inside of the Facebook group, and he's going to ride along with you for all 4 weeks of the class, which is going to be pretty cool to answer your questions. And there's also actually 2 bonuses. I don't know if I told you about in that presentation or not. I think I forgot. Maybe I didn't. But anyway, you're going to get, if you decide to register tonight, there is going to be a special bonus that Steve is giving you, which is called Creating a Killer Guitar Tone. So that's a special bonus. That's an entire course that will be released as a course. If you decide to register on this webinar tonight, then you're going to get that faux free, as in free beer. So what is Create a Killer Guitar Tone? What's that bonus about, Steve?
Well, what I do is I talk about kind of the tone that I'm using here tonight. I've got, in the studio here, I use what's called an 11 rack. And what I do is I break down the fundamentals of a clean, a crunch or a blues, a rock, and then a solo channel, and how to kind of set those up so you can set it up so it's dry, how to effectively use a delay or a reverb, so your tone is wet but it's not overly muddied by effects, and just to get a nice overall sound to those 4 elements. When I play on stage, I have all kinds of different gear, but I really only run 4 channels to anything. And then, the big thing with all of those tones is learning how to set the tones so your tone cuts through the mix. Learning how to make a really good, effective rock tone, so when you play, like if you're on stage or anything like that, the tone really kind of sears through the bass and the drums and everything like that. So that's what that's about, is really learning how to create a good clean, a good crunch, a good rock, and then a really awesome soloing channel and being able to mix those. So
that's awesome. So you actually get that entire course for free just for registering for the Songwriting Secrets Made Simple class that Shane is going to be doing. And Shane is going to be collaborating. Again, collaboration is very important. We already talked about that. Shane's going to be collaborating with Steve as well on this project. Steve's busy doing the Music Theory for Life class, but he's also going to pitch in when he can and help Shane out with questions and maybe jump on one of the Q&A calls. Yes, I think Steve already committed to do that, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool, man. Appreciate that. So, let me see here. Awesome, awesome questions. By the way, guys, if you've already signed up for the class, come back to the chat and tell us the reason that you signed up. I'm always curious to know, what is it that you want to get out of this class? And I also want to ask you guys, when you do sign up, I want you to make sure that you get your email with your receipt and that you get your email that says, come join us on Facebook. If you're not part of our Facebook community, you're really, really missing out. There's a special link, and even if you're like, oh, I don't like Facebook, I don't know how to work, it's okay, it's okay. You just click on the link, and it takes you over there, and you set up your little thing, and then you're in the group, okay? It's really important because that's where the Q&A is going to be handled. And it's also important that we like to get the questions on the Facebook group and then have everybody else kind of contribute. Again, that's that collaboration thing. It helps Steve out, and it helps Shane out, and all of our guest guitarists out. But it's really important that you're there so that you can, you know, get feedback from other people and get their other perspectives about things. And we want you to upload your recordings there, your videos there. But also, this is something brand new that we've started to do. We're going to be asking you to make a statement of commitment. And the statement of commitment is basically you making a little video of yourself. And we found some cool technology to make this super, super easy. So if you're thinking that you need to like make a video with a video camera or something, you don't need any of that. All you need to do is turn on your computer. I think the software even turns on your computer for you and your microphone. And all you have to do is like hit save. But the statement of commitment is going to be something like this. I, Dan Denley, am making a statement of commitment today, July 29th, to go through the entire Songwriting Secrets Made Simple course. And the reason I want to do this course is because, like for example, I want to be able to express myself better. I want to be able to record my own music. I want to be able to improvise with other musicians more easily. And then what it does is we put that on the Facebook group, and then everybody in the group helps hold you accountable. Okay? So if you're like not participating or you kind of fall off track, you know, the guys kind of help you, bring you back in, keep you on pace. It's a really cool way of kind of staying motivated. But I think that statement of commitment is important. So if you've already registered, come back and tell us why. I'd be interested in that. And then make your statement of commitment. If you can, do it tonight. I think it's fresh on your mind and it's important. You know, I understand if you have to wait a couple of days to get it done, and to think about the real reason. But I'd be very interested to know. Okay. Let's see here. Bertz says, I want to make sure that when I doodle on a bunch of chords will help me create a song. I'm grateful that you affirmed it today. So yeah, sometimes you just got to noodle around and get going. Let's see here. Jeremy, I signed up. My started coming guitar chords. I don't sound too much of vocal melodies. I don't think that's a question. I think it's a statement. Guys, if you have a question, make sure you click that little button so that I know that it's like it shows up red for me or something. Just make it
Kevin's got one right there.
Go ahead.
Well, Kevin's got first. Thank you for guys for this great stuff. My question is, will there be a lot of music theory involved? There will be no music theory involved.
Zero.
This isn't about music theory at all. This is about exploration. It's about exploring your fretboard and the sounds that you create, and layering, which is something that Shane and I talk about. There's a segment in There's 3 modules to this. One of the modules, Shane and I sit down and we just start creating music together from nothing and show you how that process kind of works. And then there's another section in there where he kind of preps all of the things that he uses, the way he tunes his guitar, his effects, how he went about writing. There's a song that you're going to get. There's a free download to one of his songs off his CD that you get as well with the purchase of this. And he breaks down the whole song. It's called Speak. So if you do go on YouTube or something and you look up everything in slow motion, look up the song Speak. It's just a killer tune. But he breaks down how he wrote that song and how all the parts kind of came together for it, which is really neat too.
One thing Clement actually said, sorry Clement, I lost your comment. Where did it go? Oh, I ordered the Songwriting Made Simple class before I got my email that gives me my masterclass discount, so I think I paid the extra $50. So, no worries, Clement. All you got to do is email Katrina at support@guitarzoom.com. Give her your email address that you used to order. She can look that up and issue you that credit right back to your credit card. So that is no problem. So if any of the masterclass students are on this call, and you know that we always give discounts to masterclass students who've already purchased some of the other courses, even though this isn't technically a masterclass, it kind of is a little mini masterclass. Just email support and they'll take care of you, okay? And also, so the point is, to get your masterclass discount, you need to click on the link in the email that was sent to you from the masterclass email, okay? Because if you buy now, you can do it either way. You can buy it now and then we'll just issue you the credit. But you will need to flag us down and say, hey, I'm a masterclass student. We'll look you up and then issue that credit. So thanks again, Clement, for that question. Okay, lots of good questions here. Let's go to, this is Danny. He says, hi, Dan and Steve. It's Dan, laugh out loud, from the UK. How do you use voicings in chord progressions, for example, not playing the usual open bar chords? Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work as usual. Thanks for being with us.
There's a couple things that I like to do. Like, for instance, I use what's called the cage system a lot when I'm writing things. So I'll take a segment of the guitar neck and I'll start kind of creating sounds from it. Now, again, I would have, you know, different effects and whatever on there. But if I was taking a chord, let's say I did. So really what it is it's like chord fragments. I'm using pieces of chords instead of the full chords. I always call these block chords. I don't know why I call them that, but you know, like G, C, D, and again, I am not making fun of those. I've written a million songs with them. But fragment chords are kind of fun because they're little pieces of things that you kind of connect together. The other thing I like to do is I like to take like open string things. I'll play stuff like this. If I was to take an E chord, and then I'm going to go to F sharp minor, but I go to it like this. And then I'll go to A, but I'll go to it like this. And then B like this. And those are all just by exploring sounds on the guitar. So there's just a lot of different ways that you can explore your fretboard without having to play blocky kinds of chords, Danny.
Very cool. John actually says, when will Steve's Playing in the Style of Slash be available for sale? I think he's talking about Slash style soloing. I don't know, John. We haven't. It's not even on the schedule yet, so we'll definitely let you know. Just keep your eyeballs glued to the old email inbox. Let's see. Francisca says, I have 2 questions. I have a problem developing melodic ideas because every time I play, it just sounds like scale patterns. Got any advice? That's the first question.
Okay.
You might want to answer that one, and then I'll throw the next one on you.
Okay. One thing that you can do to get out of that is stop trying to play linear. Don't play up and down. Start thinking about 2 things. Number one, you could either think about playing intervallically and think of it very simplistically. You're just going to jump over things. So instead of doing that, think about going. So I'm just taking 3 notes, and And I'm changing up the order until I find something that I like. Okay, that's one way that you can do it.
I like
the
it.
other way is limit yourself with the amount of notes that you can play. Because if you're really trying to mimic a singer, unless you're trying to do Christina Aguilera or something like that, you're not trying to go, oh, all this kind of stuff. You're just trying to make something. And if you start kind of building something, and notice how I'm playing more horizontally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a piano would. It forces me to not go, it forces me not to do that. I start thinking about, remember my slash thing, or my Satriani, right? You try and play more this way, and it forces you to think about it like a piano or a clarinet or a saxophone would. So.
Nice. Francisca, the second part of her question is, do you have any advice? Oh, sorry. Second question. What do you do when you feel like everything sounds the same? I know that feeling.
Yeah, we all do. You got to break out of the box, and that's what Shane was talking about earlier. And actually, I think all of us were. But you gotta get inspired. Go to concerts. Listen to different styles of music. Break out of that same box of listening to the same thing over and over and over, and learning songs. You know, that's one of the things that I always try and inspire my students to do is learn lots of songs. Don't always choose songs that are really, really hard. Learn just easy things. Learn how to play Wild World by Cat Stevens. Learn how to play, Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. Learn how to play Wild Horses by the Stones. Just anything to get you kind of out of the place that you live in. And needless to say, hanging out with other musicians can be really good for you too. Join your local church group and learn how to play some music. Anything that you can do to just not sit and do the same old thing all the time.
Great advice. Jeremy asks, Steve, is there any advice to those of us who tend to tinker with songs forever, always trying to improve or add parts to them and never being fully satisfied?
It's a death trap. The thing about that is that what happens a lot with players is that they take this one idea and they just beat it like a dead horse. They just keep going and going and going, and it never gets anywhere, where you could have written 17 other songs at the same time. I'm not saying that every song that you write is going to be great. Certainly for most of us it doesn't work that way. But the process of learning how to write, you have to continually do it. So the easiest thing for me to do is I come up with an idea, and then I love layering, because most of the time I'm writing by myself, in my room at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'm recording layers of things, and then I'm moving them around a little bit. And then once I feel like I'm stumped, I just walk away from it, and then the next day I'm going to come back to it. But I try and force myself to create a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then maybe somebody else will come in and go, hey, we should put this here, we should do this here. But it's an easy trap to fall into, is just taking one song and just don't do that. Try and force yourself to push out smaller elements instead of trying to create something so large all the time.
Very cool. Danny asks about fretboard harmony. How do you make everything sound right? I mean, when Steve plays, even the wrong notes sound right. How?
It's the hair. That's what it is. No, to be honest with you, when you start talking about harmonies, you are talking to a certain degree about theory. I mean, you just are. There's got to be some element of whether it's theoretical understanding of what you're doing, or whether it's visual understanding. Like when I was a kid, I learned how to play a lot of Iron Maiden stuff, and there was a lot of harmonies in there. I didn't understand the theory behind it. I just understood how it looked and how it sounded. And then when I got older, I learned the theory behind it. I think when it comes to harmonies and things like that, you kind of have to have an understanding a little bit of one or the other. Either it's a visual thing or it's a theoretical thing, Danny. So
nice. Hey, this is a big question. Winston asks, I just answered him privately here, and hope I answered the right way. But Winston says, after taking this course, will I have the skill to write out my melody in music notation, or should I complete the music theory course first?
This course, this songwriting course, has nothing to do with music theory notation at all. Nothing.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, guys, this is like the opposite of the music theory course.
Yeah.
Music theory is like the skeleton that all of music is built on, right? This is just going straight for playing, making up songs, diving straight in. I mean, that's kind of why we piggybacked it right on top of this, because we knew we had a group of people that wanted the music theory stuff, and then those people were kind of like, this is too like heady and music theory-ish for me, and then this is a whole nother thing here, okay? So we're not going into notation, and we're not going into like ABA song structure, and like it's not a theory level composition class. This is about getting the music out, getting it recorded, and getting it out there.
Right. There's pluses and minuses to all of that. You know, it's not like you're going to go to school for 4 years and learn all your theory, and all of a sudden you're a great musician. And on the other side, if you don't know anything about music, that doesn't make you a great musician either. I think the whole thing with all of this stuff is learning how to balance where you want to be in the middle. You know, I've got some friends that play that are wonderful players, but they can't teach because they have no idea what they're doing. And then I've got other friends that know a lot about teaching, but they don't really know a lot about playing. So I think for all of you, you just have to figure out where you are in the middle of all this. I've found a nice balance between the whole thing comes down to, which is what we're really talking about here, is confidence and creativity. I mean, that's really what guitar playing, that's what music is. In a way, that's kind of what life is. But it's all about being confident, and it's about being creative. So when you're with other musicians, you don't feel like you're inferior and you don't have abilities, and you're always comparing yourself to other people. And theory can give you a lot of confidence, but so can really just understanding your fretboard. You know, as you keep learning songs and you explore how your guitar works, like when I play this, like I showed you, when I play Rooster, I'm not thinking about theory. I'm thinking about what it sounds like on the guitar. That's all I'm doing. So I shut it off and turn it on when I need it. So, but there's no doubt if somebody plays this, you know, and I look down at my guitar, I'm going to go, well, that's an E minor. Because I know it's going to work. I could decide to do something different, and that's an option of mine. But so you have to understand that in your lifetime, you have to decide how much of each one of these things you want. This course is just about exploring your mind, exploring your fretboard, which is really, really, really important.
Uber important.
Yep.
Okay, so Clement actually already signed up, and he said that he got the Create Killer Guitar Tone in his member area already now. So yeah, that's one thing, guys, is that if you decide to register, you're going to get the bonuses instantly. You don't have to wait for August 5th, so you can go ahead and do that. And thank you, Clement, for coming back and telling us about that. I do appreciate it. Let's see. Oh, Kevin says, I signed up to develop my ability to come up with songs from scratch. I like to write songs professionally. Well, that is an awesome goal, Kevin. And I think you can do it. I think this is going to be a great start. I mean, that's the whole point that Steve came up with this idea for the songwriting course, is that we knew there were people out there that want to learn how to play their own music. And I actually just watched a video from Steve Vai the other day about him talking about writing his own music. And it really, in my opinion, as a musician, is the ultimate form of expression. You can definitely play other people's songs. It's awesome. You should do that. Nothing wrong with it. I'm saying it's necessary. You need to learn other people's techniques and songs and all that. But ultimately, you know, we get to a point as musicians and we're like, man, I want to create. I want to do my own thing. And I think for me personally, that was the most rewarding experience in my musical journey, is writing my own stuff. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I agree. I mean, you know, like for me, I've always thought like my biggest problem is because I've learned how to play 855 million songs in my life. I can't even tell you how many songs I've learned, that I understand song structure and genre stylistic characteristics to a very great detail. And so sometimes it's hard for me to shut that off and just go with a natural flow of things. Because if you want a pop song, I can write it. If you want a country song, I can write it. If you want a metal song, I can write it. If you want a punk song, I can write it. And so part of this whole thing is learning not to, like we talked about earlier, not to define who you are supposed to be, or well, I like blues, so I have to be able to do this. I think you just got to sit down and you just got to start trying to do something, but do it honestly. Don't go, when you start playing, like my biggest problem was always that because I'm a guitar player and because I'm a guitar teacher, all of my songs had to be complicating, because if it wasn't, you'd listen to it and go, well, he's not doing anything special because he's a guitar teacher. I've battled that my entire life. And it wasn't until, I started jamming really with my daughter, I think, where I started kind of figuring out that it really isn't about all of that stuff. I've got bands that I do that with and I write with, and then I've got other things I like to do. So there are times I grab my acoustic guitar and I just start I just start playing a... whatever it might be. And I'm just kind of going with whatever it is. It doesn't have to be 17 chords. It's just this thing. And then all of a sudden you got a drummer going, and you got yourself a song. I mean, it's really, really fun.
Love it. Guys, I just want to take a quick little moment. We're wrapping up here. I just want to say thank you to Travis Adams. These are people that have already registered for this class. So Travis, thank you. Stephen, thank you. Stanley Jankowski, thank you. Sandra Fabio, thank you. Rick Haverland, thank you. Thank you. Mikhail Coons, thank you. Kevin Bold, thank you. Jeremy Paula, thank you. Jeremy Fredrickson, thank you. James Barrett, thank you. Francis Herndon, thank you. And I could go on and on. David, Clement, Carol, thank you very much. So let's jump back, guys. Let's wrap it up. We've already been on here for 2 hours. I think you can see the power of this. If writing songs is something that you would like to learn how to do, I think that this class is definitely for you. Also, remember that you're covered always by a 90-day satisfaction guarantee. So if you take the class and for any reason you're like, dude, I thought this was going to be one thing and it turned out to be another, or I just couldn't get my head wrapped around this, or for any reason you just don't like it, all you got to do is contact us at support@guitarzoom.com, and we will cheerfully issue you a fast and friendly refund. And because our whole business depends on repeat happy customers. And we have lifelong students, which is super cool. I can never express to you guys how much every single one of you guys mean to me. And I really sound all ooey and gooey inside when I say that, but I'm serious. Let's see. Joseph says, when you sit down to write, how do you choose the guitar you will use, acoustic versus electric?
Depends on the mood I'm in. It totally does. If I'm feeling mellow, I grab my acoustic. I mean, I'll grab my electric for mellow stuff too, for sure. But for me, the acoustic is much more dynamic because there's not the compression of the tone and all that, the amp that it has to go through. I love being able to just grab an acoustic and start, slapping out octaves. I love all that kind of stuff, or playing bluesy things. All that kind of stuff. When I grab my electric, I have a tendency of playing a little more rock and roll. So it just depends on the mood I'm in. It's nice to have both, for sure.
Very cool. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. There are still 227 people here, so thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Again, there should be the little box on the side. If you are wanting to sign up for the Songwriting Secrets Made Simple course, you can register now. Click on the I Want This button and fill out the form and register. You get a special bonus for registering by the time that the timer hits 0 tonight, and that is the Creating a Killer Guitar Tone, as well as the other bonuses. And you also get, just for being here, guys, and if you click on that link, the I Want This, scroll all the way down to the very bottom of the page. There's a link that says Webinar Attendee Bonus. Just click on that link, go over to the page, fill out the form, and that course, the course called Developing Strumming Power, will be automatically added into your membership site for free. So I think that's pretty cool. That's our way of saying thanks for hanging with us to the very end.
Yeah, thank you.
And the class starts August 5th, and all of the early bird discounts and everything are in effect right now. So make sure that you register before that timer hits 0 to get all of the goodies, and we will see you in the class starting August 5th. Thanks again for being here, everybody. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
we can
Dan.
close out, and the link to go over to the page should still be there, so you can read all about it. We didn't even begin to scratch the surface on what this thing is going to cover. But just remember, it's 3 modules, 3 weeks, or actually it's 4 weeks, and then the lessons are published online. You get to keep them forever, as well as 4 live sessions that are going to be also recorded, so you don't have to worry about missing them. And you're also going to get the special bonus, which is on the webpage there, as well as the other bonuses there, which are the tab, transcriptions for every single one of the modules, as well as the private Facebook group. And you're also going to get the Killer Guitar Tone. Don't forget about that, which is an awesome course. And, man, there's a lot of stuff on this. You also are going to get 4 weeks of personal help from Shane. I forgot about that.
Yep.
In the Facebook group. He's going to hang out with you guys. And there's another creative chord expansion bonus, which is a whole nother course which fits perfectly in this. That's one of Steve's courses. You're going to get that.
It's about the moving stuff I was talking about. That's right.
And then the free downloadable song Speak by Shane, and he's going to break down that whole song and show you kind of his creative process, which I think is going to be probably worth the entire cost of the course right there. That's super cool to get inside the mind of a composer and find out what they're thinking, and then you can take it and apply it to your playing. So thanks again for being here, guys. I'm going to sign off. Steve Stine, as always.
Adios, buddy.
Pleasure.
All right, everybody take care.
Thank you for my tech people, too. Matt, Tom, thanks for hanging with us and helping everything run smoothly. Thanks again, guys, for being here.
Take care.
See you next time. Bye.